You can listen to The Professional Left wherever you get your podcasts, on Netroots Radio, or at our website, proleftpod.com, where you can also contribute to this podcast. There is, as always, a PayPal at our website, or you can mail us a letter and or contribution at P.O. Box 9133, Springfield, Illinois, 62791.
This is the podcast for the week of September 5th, 2025. It's not safe for work.
Recorded live from the Cornfield Resistance, where we're going to have a language lesson today, but don't worry, we're holding class outside because it's 70 degrees and sunny here, people. It's The Professional Left with Driftglass and Blue Gal. But first, this headline from MSNBC about Republican Senator Eric Schmidt of Missouri. Quote, Senator Eric Schmidt lets his extremist flag fly in racist speech at Natcon, unquote. And in case you don't know what Natcon is, it's not a backyard fogger that keeps small flying pests away, although that'd be a great name for it. It is the National Conservatism Conference, where small flying pests gather together to make America miserable. It's a really fun bunch of mostly white, blood and soil Christian nationalists. Last year's speakers included Jim DeMint, Josh Hawley, Russian asset Ron Johnson, completely mental Mike Lee, America's most punchable fascist Stephen Miller, Vivek Ramaswamy, J.D. Vance, Eric Schmidt, there he is, Rick Scott, Tom Homan, and on and on and on and on.
That sounds like fun.
Oh, it's just a fun bunch of guys getting together to say, you know what we should be? We should be a lot more like Germany in the 1930s, except we're going to do it right.
Yeah.
This year's speakers include Tulsi Gabbard, Kelly Loeffler, Project 2025 Mastermind Russ Vought, Nigel Farage, Senator Jim Banks, Sebastian Gorka, Josh Hawley, Tom Homan again, Steve Bannon, and there's Eric Schmidt again. Yeah, it's those people. You know,
I sure as hell hope there's an open bar.
Yeah, there pretty much has to be. But before we get to that, does anyone out there remember, without looking it up on Google, the byword of the 2016 election? And although he has long since scrubbed his Twitter archive and blocked anyone who mentions it, you might remember that during the 2015-2016 election season, the former ABC News director or news special guy, Matthew Dowd, used two phrases more than any other. If you did a word bubble of his conversations during that era, there are two words would jump right out at you. One of them was the corrupt duopoly. That was the phrase.
I totally remember the corrupt duopoly, yes.
We have to destroy the corrupt duopoly. There's nothing else that can save us. But do you remember the other one? Here's a clue. How do you destroy the corrupt duopoly? By disruption. Disruption. We must disrupt the election. We must have disruption. We must end the corrupt duopoly. That was a very big word back then. The legacy media was mad for it. You couldn't go a day without some pundit somewhere insisting the only way to fix American politics was massive disruption. Well, guess what? They got what they wanted, didn't they?
They sure got a lot of disruption. That's right.
Is this what you wished for? It certainly seems like it.
I don't think they had any idea and, fucked around and found out is what it's all about now. But disruption is really a bigger, more aggressive way of saying change.
That's right.
This is something that political science student Junior Dude is frequently talking about with elections. He said people who are lower middle class or poorer hate their lives. And so they're always voting to turn the bastards out, whoever's in power.
Whoever's in power has got to go.
Doesn't matter, right? Yep. To change their lives. And this is from a July 2007 ABC News report on then-candidate Barack Obama. Quote, change can't just be a slogan, Obama said, stumping in Iowa, in an apparent swipe at the New York Senator's relatively new campaign slogan, ready for change, ready to lead. Change has to be something that is demonstrated day to day on an ongoing basis. And I think that my career and my campaign has demonstrated that, Obama later added at a news conference. Basically, every election is a change election. All elections are about tomorrow, not yesterday. Yesterday is only relevant as it gives evidence about tomorrow, unquote.
And keep an ear open for that phrase, every election is a change election, because it's going to start coming up a lot. This is Paul Gigot, reporting on Karl Rove in the Wall Street Journal in August of 2007. As for 2008, this is Karl Rove predicting. Rove says Americans do want change, but every election is a change election, blue gal. Even in 1988, when Ronald Reagan was popular, the Gipper famously said at the nominating convention for George H.W. Bush that we are the change, unquote.
This is an excerpt from an interview that Brian Goldsmith of CBS News, which we believe is now called the Anti-Woke Power Hour with Barry Weiss. Really, go and Google Barry Weiss news. It's pretty disgusting. Conducted with former Reagan Chief of Staff Ken Duberstein in March of 2008. Goldsmith asked, obviously change is the watchword this election season. What kind of change does McCain offer after President Bush? Duberstein said, well, I think every election is a change election, unquote.
And this is some guy named Josh Kurtz writing in Maryland Matters in 2018, quote, now more than ever. Maryland politics is at an inflection point. Every election is a change election, blue gal, unquote. One more. Finally. This is from a WBUR panel interview in November of 2024 about the outcome of that election. This is the Bulwark's Sarah Longwell speaking, quote, everything's a change election now. Every election is a change election. Unquote. Yeah, and we could do 100 more, but we're not going to.
We could do 100 more.
So change or disruption or whatever, it comes down to the same thing, right? Change, like advertising, is based on a sense of continuous dissatisfaction, on the belief that out there somewhere over the horizon, there is something better than the thing you have now. So here's the question. If every election is a change election based on a sense by the majority of dissatisfaction, how come our politics keeps violently lurching back and forth between Democrats and fascists? And I'm going to answer that question now because it was rhetorical. So everybody just calm down. It's because for Democrats, change means one thing, and for Republicans, it means the diametric opposite. For us, change generally means progress.
My first job, I was in-house at a fur company with this old pro copywriter, Greek, named Teddy. And Teddy told me the most important idea in advertising is new. Creates an itch. You simply put your product in there as a kind of calamine lotion.
It means a better tomorrow, Medicare for all, clean air, clean water, respect for science, expanded rights for, everybody. Mm-hmm. All of which require a vision of a better tomorrow and a willingness to start today to build towards it. It's the Greek proverb, a society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they shall never sit in. Mm-hmm. That's progress. Now, fascists want none of that because their idea of change is this.
But he also talked about a deeper bond with the product. Nostalgia. It's delicate, but potent.
Fascists don't give a shit about the future, and our version of the future especially enrages them, because our future is about fairness and diversity, and that is an assault on their dearest values. Their vision of an American utopia is one ruled by white, conservative Christian men, which is straight men, I should add, cis straight men, which is why they're not just nostalgic, they're belligerently revanchist. To them, this country is a territory which progressives have illegally seized from them, and they are, by God, by any means necessary, going to take it back. And because they believe this country has been stolen from them, they see deep state conspiracies and George Soros around every fucking corner.
Yep, they loathe science because smart people are in on the conspiracy and because believing in an epidemic was inconvenient and scary. So we get RFK Jr.
Yeah. They want the muscle cars of their youth, and they want gas to be 18 cents a gallon, which is why windmills are suddenly bad and climate change must be a hoax.
For American fascists, change means getting back to an imaginary utopia that never was. Mm-hmm. And that means giving a tyrant the power to burn down modernity.
Yeah, let's roll it back past the Enlightenment all the way to the Dark Ages. And for a vision of what that looks like, let's get back to Republican Senator Eric Schmidt at the 2025 National Conservatism Conference. Quote,
Wait,
Schmidt,
we cannot emphasize enough that he said this week.
This week, like yesterday.
This is not, right, this is not even 2016. This is now. This conference is going on.
This is not George Wallace in 1968. This isn't Strom Thurmond in 1954. This is today. This is right now. There's a Republican senator right now.
And he's
today.
a sitting U.S. senator from the state next door.
Yeah. And on one side of them is Tulsi Gabbard. On the other is Seb Gorka.
Yeah.
So that's who these people are. They are fascists, and they want this country to look like fascist Germany in the 30s. That's their
38.
goal.
Yeah.
And they're not shy about telling you that if you just bother to listen. Quote, Schmidt unleashed a diatribe against non-white immigrants and depicted the United States as the rightful inheritance of descendants of European settlers, read white settlers. His speech, titled What is an American?, articulated a political vision that is not so far removed from that of racist organizations like Return to the Land, a white nationalist group that is trying to establish a whites-only community in Arkansas and has sought to expand its footprint into Schmidt's home state. The senator denounced fellow conservatives who support legal migration, accusing them of aiding immigrants who he basically claimed, quote, take the jobs, salaries, and futures that should belong to our own children. Yes, Schmidt wants his kids picking crops in the hot sun. That's what he envisions as a future for his kids. Invoking the image of a violent mob, he claimed the MAGA movement is, quote, a pitchfork revolution, driven by the millions of Americans who felt that they were turning into strangers in their own country, unquote. He talked at various points about the U.S. being, quote, our birthright, quote, as a nation of settlers, explorers, and pioneers, about, quote, the real American nation, represented by Donald Trump and his movement, and about we Americans, the sons and daughters of the Christian pilgrims that poured out of Europe's shores to baptize a new world in their ancient faith, unquote. That should make your blood boil. And that is what white, Christian, male, conservative revanchism looks like.
I hate to break it to him, but his people probably came over sometime between 1840 and 1870 when there's a potato famine in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And a number of his ancestors probably came over as indentured servants or somehow borrowing money in exchange for labor.
Yeah.
Once they got here?
Debt bondage. Yep.
Yeah, debt bondage in some way.
Yeah.
And I also want to bring up something we talked about earlier today about Benjamin Franklin deciding that these Krauts who moved into Philadelphia don't have the right complexion to be Americans.
No, they're bad.
They don't speak English and they're taking all the good jobs.
Right, and they smell bad. They smell bad.
That was Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah. Yeah, talking about your ancestors.
Talking about Germans.
Yeah, talking about Germans. Talking about the goddamn Germans.
All those goddamn Germans ruining Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Potato famine refugee is what your people are. And you're an open border baby. And the single most important animating idea behind the Republican Party is this racist nonsense.
Well, it's this desire to drag the country back to a fake utopia.
To something that didn't exist when his people got here.
No, and never did really exist.
Yeah. We were greeted as liberators when we arrived on these shores. No, you were not.
And the only way to get that back, to get the change they need, which is strapped to nostalgia, is to burn everything down.
Right. And throw people in jail without due process rights.
Yeah. Women should be bearing children for the fatherland, not having abortions. That should. I don't know if you noticed this today. Was it today or yesterday? Texas banned abortion pills by mail. Yeah. Because they're not yet enough of a fascist state that modeled on The Handmaid's Tale. They got to go the extra mile. Every time you look for some leader who's dragging us back and back and back, you find Texas and Florida and assholes like Schmidt in Missouri.
Yep. How do you suppose that, according to CNN, something as basic as support for vaccinating kids against infectious diseases like polio dropped from 81% in 1991 to 51% last year? How do you suppose a mentally ill crackpot like RFK Jr. got a job overseeing the American health system?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, RFK Jr. is a dangerous lunatic destroying everything he touches, but it took 52 Republican cowards and traitors in the U.S. Senate to put him in that position, and tens of millions of rank-and-file Republican bigots and imbeciles to elect those senators.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are at war with modernity, at war with America's traditional vision of itself as a melting pot full of different kinds of people from different backgrounds.
And there have always been a strain in this country. There's always been a Father Coughlin strain. There's always been, Lindbergh strain, McCarthy strain. That
Excuse me. No! Sorry, he's about to. 1631.
And there's always been a MacArthur strain, Joe McCarthy strain, a Lindbergh strain, a Coughlin strain that wants this country to be the other thing, be the white Christian national. It's the Klan. It's the Confederacy. It has never gone away. But right now, that party runs this country. And we are in real danger of them using violence and provocation and propaganda to make this country permanently into something that Lincoln, led an entire army to stop it from becoming, from what our ancestors went to Europe to destroy.
Yep. And as I said, I think on Bob Seska yesterday, and thank you, Bob Seska, for having us on yesterday. Everybody should go listen to that show. Stephen Miller is shopping around the country for a city where he can incite a race riot.
Yes, he is. 100%. That's what he's doing.
That's the purpose of going to Chicago or going to New Orleans or going to wherever.
Mm-hmm.
And Chicago, it's turning out it's not working out so good.
Mm-hmm.
Because J.B. Pritzker has big pockets.
Yeah, and he's willing
to call it as he sees it, as this is insanity.
And he's willing to
asking me to beg for something I don't want.
And he's willing to stand next to the black mayor of Chicago,
right,
who is not terribly popular in Chicago right now.
Yeah.
And say, we're not going to let this happen. We are not going to permit this. We are not asking for this. We do not want this. And
there's no reason for it.
And there's no reason for it at all.
Yeah.
And that's powerful. And Louisiana has a Republican governor who will do what he is fucking told.
Yep. Well, they have a Democratic mayor in New Orleans, though.
Yeah.
So who's black, of course.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. They're looking for a race riot.
Mm-hmm.
And Driftglass, you were a Chicagoan for many years.
I was for a long time.
Has there ever been a mayor that everyone in Chicago was happy with?
Everyone in Chicago, no. Chicago is a Democratic city, but that is just at the surface. The worst discrimination Martin Luther King City ever faced was in Chicago.
Yep.
It's worse because they're vicious up there, and they threw bricks at him. When Harold Washington won the Democratic nomination, 26 aldermen suddenly discovered the joys of a Republican candidate. So
there's a lot of racism in Chicago.
Fuck yeah. And Mayor Daley, the first Mayor Daley, ran the city like an old city boss, and he did it by keeping minorities in line, by keeping them pent up and dependent on crooked people as their quote unquote representatives. So, but he was popular because he got shit done. Yeah. And R2D2, his son, was popular because he spent a lot of money and got things done. But there have always been people who just who chafed under the Daley regime. When the first Mayor Daley would like turn your microphone off. Yeah. There were like two aldermen who would stand up occasionally and oppose him, and he'd just shut their microphone off. He ran the city like a dictator because he was a fucking dictator. Yeah,
and part of Harold Washington's whole thing was, Mayor Daley left black people out of all of the wealth that he threw around in the city. So
and that Jane Byrne is incompetent.
Yes,
and that Daley's son can't string together 5 words without sounding like an idiot. And I promise to be fair. I promise city resources, which are vast, and police protection, which is significant, will be fairly distributed and not hoarded in a few white neighborhoods.
And the whites hated him.
And the whites fucking hated that because they're racist. They're goddamn racist. So there is a trigger waiting to be pulled out there somewhere, but not in Chicago.
Yeah. Well, and at this conservatism conference, they all talk like Mussolini when they're among their own kind.
Mm-hmm.
But they look like fools when the spotlight hits them. Here, for instance, is Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma trying to defend RFK.
Do you have 100% confidence in Secretary Kennedy?
I believe he is who the president has picked. I don't think he's gone a wrong direction in this. I think he is challenging some of the assumptions that a lot of Americans have asked just to be able to ask questions about. What is it about our food? What is it about autism? What is it about all these things that are different in America than they are in different places? I think those are appropriate questions. He's pushing the boundaries, but he also seems to be following the science. It's not wrong to be able to ask hard questions. It is wrong to ignore the science.
Yeah.
I don't see him ignoring the science. I see him asking the hard questions.
Just worth noting, the science has debunked links between autism and vaccines for more than 20 years.
Oh, no, I agree.
All of which brings us to the story of right-wing darling Eric Erickson and what happens when your revanchist fantasies hit the brick wall of reality. And yes, you OG listeners out there, you people who know the old blogosphere, this is the same Eric Erickson who came to our attention back in 2008 when he wrote, "Judge Souter is a goat-fucking child molester," on his conservative website, Red State. Yeah, he's that guy. And you know what? Didn't hurt his career one bit.
No, because for some reason it didn't.
Because all the way back then, even before that, the right loved this shit. In February of 2019, NPR ran a whole thing on, quote, "Vocal critic explains why he now supports President Trump." Rachel Martin talks to conservative radio host and former Never Trumper, Eric Erickson about why he has changed his mind and decided to support President Trump, unquote. So, what specifically changed his mind about Donald Trump? Because he was a Never Trumper. Money. Oh, yeah, money. But this is what he said about himself. This is him talking about himself. Quote, "Well, he's no longer a hypothetical. You know, he's still not a role model for my kids. I've still got a lot of disappointment there, but he's not hypothetical anymore. He was when he ran for office. He now has a record, and there's a lot of it I don't like, but there are good portions of it that I do. And when I see him in contrast to how Democrats are running, particularly being a pro-life conservative, seeing abortion laws Democrats are pushing and whatnot, I feel kind of stuck. So I'll wind up voting for the president in 2020, unquote."
We pick up the Erickson saga in the Huffington Post, April 16th, 2024, quote, "Right-wing pundit served with receipts after claiming January 6th was no insurrection." This is 4 years after January 6th. He's now saying it's not an insurrection. Yeah. Conservative radio host and pundit Eric Erickson ended up getting humiliated on social media Tuesday after he claimed that the attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021 wasn't an insurrection. Numerous people on X, formerly Twitter, were quickly able to post receipts showing that the right-wing broadcaster had previously called the events of January 6th an insurrection, and even more shocking, admitted that then President Donald Trump was responsible, along with the entire Fox News cavalcade of stars on January 6th and 7th, were horrified.
Yeah, they were. They were clearly, it was clear what this was and who was responsible.
And who did it.
100% clear.
Yep.
But this is a wonderful example, this little capsule here before we move on, of how conservatives just rewrite history.
Erase history.
When it becomes inconvenient, they just lie about it. And you know what? Didn't affect his career one bit. Didn't affect him because all of them do it. So why should he be singled out for special opprobrium when all of them lie about their past and all of them lie about history all the time? So, continuing, this is from Barrett Media, August 28th, 2024. Quote, "During the Eric Erickson show Monday, the nationally syndicated radio host took issue with pushback he's received for his opinions on the Republican candidate." This is Eric Erickson talking now. Quote, "There are people who I can spend 3 straight days praising the things Donald Trump has done and then say one critical thing. And they email, 'I can't believe you hate Donald Trump. You should be taken off the radio station. Your wife should die of cancer, and it should be all your fault. Screw you people. I don't like him, and I'm not going to tell you otherwise," said Erickson. "I've given him more money than probably 9 out of 10 people who email me angrily that I don't like Donald Trump. And so I should shut up and be taken off the radio because I'm not willing to hump his leg like you are, unquote.
He's an angry elf.
And this was Eric Erickson in the Herald on November 12th, 2024. Quote, when it was all over, Trump not only won big, but won broadly. He will go back to the White House with the broadest multiracial coalition any Republican has ever had. Through it all, Americans participated civilly. On Election Day, instead of firing bullets to change their government, they cast ballots. The day after, life returned to normal. Only the progressives who traded God for politics dressed in black to mourn. The God of all creation smashed their idols before their eyes on live television as Americans rejected the atheist, mostly white, wealthy elite who think boys can become girls and Hispanic voters want more illegal immigrants, unquote. Fuck you. Yes, old goat fucker Eric has been on quite the journey.
Yeah. And we arranged this entire quote sequence just so Bible Bitch could be talking about Eric Erickson and God. This God's will. This is God's will. God smashed the liberal
Somehow
idols.
politics is my idol.
The atheist, godless left were rebuked and destroyed by God. So let's take a look where this journey has taken Eric Erickson. This is from the Daily Beast. Quote, MAGA radio host's cancer-stricken wife can't get COVID shot because of kook RFK Jr.
We should mention that we got our COVID shots yesterday.
We did. My arm still hurts. And we walked
My
into
arm
CVS.
still hurts too, but the lady at the pharmacy said, oh, you have to have a condition.
Do you have a
in
condition?
order to get a COVID shot. And we both said, I mean, that you have asthma and I have a cardiology situation and long-standing since birth, but it is a situation. I think if we'd said, I have a heart valve.
Yeah.
She would have said, okay, here's your form.
I think if I held my elbow up and said, I have a boo-boo, that's okay.
That's okay. Well, here's the form for your COVID shot.
Yeah, fill it out. And
she was not listening carefully for what your condition was.
No.
She doesn't care.
She said, this is the new one. So, 6G, it's pretty good. But she hooked us up with COVID and flu shots. No questions asked.
No, she did ask the question. She did her job and said you have to have a condition.
No interrogation.
But she didn't. Right.
No body cavity search.
She didn't want to see our records.
No. And we got after a sore arm. My arm is still very sore.
Yeah.
But we also got little bags of popcorn and a coupon for $10.
And a coupon. At CVS, you get a coupon.
Yeah. This is not Eric Erickson's experience.
No, it's not. In Georgia.
Yeah. Continuing from the Daily Beast, an ultra-conservative radio host attacked Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on Thursday, saying that his sick wife is unable to receive a COVID-19 vaccine because of the policies of the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Eric Erickson, an influential conservative talk show host, for reasons that passeth all understanding, reposted a New York Times article about declining availability of the COVID vaccine in pharmacies and said his wife is one of the people affected. My wife has stage 4 lung cancer. She's one of the people the COVID vaccine actually helps, he wrote. Thanks to the current mess at HHS, CVS is unable to get her the vaccine. In response to comments criticizing his take, Erickson further explained his wife's predicament and sharpened his criticism of Secretary Kennedy. Just for all the people chiming in ignorantly, the vaccine does not prevent COVID for my wife, but it greatly minimizes the impact of the virus, he explained. It's the difference between symptoms amounting to a runny nose and being bedridden for a prolonged period of time, unquote. So, we want to make this very, very clear. We feel for him. We don't believe this should be happening to his wife at all. We really do believe that because we believe all Americans should have access to vaccines that prevent and mitigate terrible diseases. Eric Erickson joined the Psycho Circus, and now the Psycho Circus clowns are coming for his family, which is terrible. But I do have to ask, according to Eric Erickson's own theology, which he very clearly stated just 5 paragraphs ago, if 2024 was God's judgment against us godless, heathen, atheist liberals, wouldn't the appointment of RFK Jr. to inflict needless and cruel suffering on Eric Erickson's wife also be God's judgment? You can't have one without the other.
What are your idols, Eric Erickson?
Yeah. If God is doing everything, pulling all the strings and punishing us, then you cannot have one without the other. Then this must be God's judgment against you and your family. Mm-hmm. We don't think so because we're atheists. We're not. We're church-going Christians.
We're not.
But we don't believe anything like this. But you do. So maybe you should look inward and ask yourself, why is God punishing Eric Erickson?
This goes back to, Driftglass, if I could riff for a little bit, on a couple of other stories. One is there is now a blue state coalition of California, Oregon, and Washington that is basically setting up their own Health and Human Services department to protect science from RFK Jr.
Yeah. Yep.
And the other story that has come out in the past month is that blue states that sued the Trump administration over losing money for research and development won in court and got their money back.
Yep.
And red states that wouldn't dare sue Donald Trump or sue the Trump administration didn't. And is that just God's judgment on whether or not you'll sue Trump?
Apparently it is. I mean, that's not my theology, but...
It does harken back to the extent to which red states depend on blue states, not just for revenue, but for sanity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And far fewer pregnant women would die in childbirth in Texas if we had an administration that cared about women and a Congress that cared about women. And that you get that by having Democrats in power. That's just the binary choice we have right now.
And they do depend on us to be the ones who say, don't run with the scissors.
Right. Don't run with scissors.
And
exactly.
They really, because they think they're immortal or they're God's chosen people or whatever, all the stupid shit they believe. And we're stepping aside. Run with scissors, man. Go for it. Run as fast as you want with as many scissors as you like, pointed at your belly, over a bumpy road and up some stairs and across a wooden bridge. Go for it. And that's what they're doing. They have demanded this. Election after election, they have chafed against liberals like us just trying to mitigate the damage they did in the last fucking election, begging them to stop being crazy and fascist and self-destructive. And they will not do it. So let them fucking destroy themselves. And I'm sorry about that.
And now that the Trump administration is trying to stop gun sales to trans people, I can't wait for the amendments that say, and you should include pedophile priests and Baptist youth leaders found with child porn on their computers.
I say that the trans community, I'm not giving actual advice, I'm giving rhetorical advice, but follow the example from California and form, when Reagan was governor, form the Trans Rainbow Coalition for Self-Defense.
Yep.
Just like the Black Panthers.
Weapons on the street.
Start going strapped. Color your AR-15 and AK-47 anything you like.
Trans flag, AK-47s.
And show up at public meetings of Republican lawmakers strapped to the fucking teeth and dare them to take it away from you. Yeah. And the minute they do, all your friends in the audience who are filming this shit scream Second Amendment, Second Amendment, as loud as you like. And see how they like it. See what happens. Because that is what got Reagan to
That's
sign.
What got Reagan to do gun control in California was the Black Panthers having...
Black people carrying guns? Oh, we can't have that. We can't have that. So, they're asking for it. They're begging for it. And let them fall. Because we keep trying to save them from themselves and we keep ending up getting kicked in the teeth for our troubles. So... Sorry.
Okay, we got a new news roundup, Driftglass. Speaking of self-inflicted injury, from CNN, quote, the self-inflicted injury to U.S. tourism that's making some Americans angry and disappointed. After a promising estimate in December by analytics company Tourism Economics that the U.S. would see about a 9% growth in overall international visitation in 2025.
Yay!
The company's updated outlook now estimates an 8.2% decline, led by about 1/4 fewer Canadians visiting the U.S. from January to July compared to the same period in 2024. The World Travel and Tourism Council, a global tourism advocacy organization, projected in May that the United States will lose $12.5 billion in international visitor spending in 2025. The United States of America is the only country out of the 184 economies the council analyzed that will see a decline this year.
Wow.
America first.
Yeah. And just for the record, when we do these news roundups, this isn't all the news.
No.
We could do an hour on each of these subjects because it's just a sampling of how deep the rot is and how deep the terror is and how much these guys are fucking us over. Mm-hmm. So we could do an hour on just trade and trade imbalance and how many people are getting screwed by tariffs. We just
and
figure...
the numbers that he pulled out of his ass to make it... He didn't spend an hour on his tariffs.
No, because he doesn't care. They're magic. Everything's magic. And now we turn to ABC Australia for a similar story. Quote, Australia Post halts most parcel postage to U.S. as tariff chaos hits global carriers. Australia Post has immediately suspended most postage to the United States, with only the delivery of letters, documents, and gifts worth less than $150 continuing. The Post Service has taken the extraordinary step to halt many forms of postage to the U.S., as a Trump administration tariff on low-value parcels is due to come into effect within days. Australian businesses selling to American customers will be blocked from shipping to the U.S. via Australia Post from today. The government-owned Postal Service joins other global carriers in taking this step ahead of new levies beginning on Friday, August 29th, unquote.
We have breaking news.
Oh, I love breaking news.
An appeals court has said Alligator Alcatraz Detention Center can stay open. An appeals panel paused a federal judge's ruling that no additional detainees be sent to the center, and that much of it had to be dismantled within 60 days. Mm-hmm. The New York Times is reporting an immigration detention center in the Florida Everglades can remain open, and the government can resume sending detainees there after a federal appeals court ruled on Thursday, that's today, against a lower court's decision effectively shutting down the facility. The 11th Circuit in Atlanta. Yeah. I tell you.
And that was based on, as you told me, Native population, Native Americans,
right,
suing because it destroys the environment.
Environmentally unsound.
And human beings should not be in this environment, period.
Yeah. Ecologically fragile Everglades. Mm-hmm. Yep. And that detention center had so far been entirely funded by the state of Florida. Uh-huh. And because the state operated the center, this is what the New York Times says, the National Environmental Policy Act would not apply. All right.
Well,
moving on.
Moving on from Democratic Representative from Massachusetts, Jim McGovern. Quote, the majority still hasn't hung the plaque honoring those officers who defended the Capitol on January 6th, a plaque required by law. So instead of a sham committee, how about you get a screwdriver and hang the damn plaque, unquote. Well said. Simple, direct, clear, and
they're breaking the law by not
folds
hanging
in the law breaking.
Yeah.
They're just casual law breaking by these people.
But the biggest story of all continues to be Pedogate.
Yeah.
Donald Trump's Epstein files cover-up, and it is a cover-up. From ABC News, quote, Trump calls Epstein files irrelevant as Massey petition picks up steam. Epstein survivors joined House members to demand all files be released. President Donald Trump on Wednesday cast the Jeffrey Epstein controversy as, by the way, say controversy one more goddamn time.
Yeah.
As irrelevant amid an effort on Capitol Hill to force a vote to release all files related to the deceased sex offender, who's controversial. This is a Democrat hoax that never ends, Trump told reporters in the Oval Office when asked about the push for more transparency in the Epstein matter. From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given, the president said. But it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president.
Keep running your mouth, asshole. Just keep talking about the Epstein files.
Republican Representative Thomas Massie and Democratic Representative Ro Khanna's effort to force a vote on the files has led to a showdown with House Republican leadership and the White House. Massie's discharge petition had 206 signatures as of Wednesday afternoon. It needs 218 to compel a vote on the House floor. So far, 4 Republicans have signed on to the Massie and Khanna discharge petition, a procedural tool to bypass GOP leadership and force a vote. Those signers include Massie, Nancy Mace, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Lauren Boebert. If all 212 Democrats sign the petition, only 2 more Republicans are needed. Unquote.
And then Mike Johnson entered the chat by jumping into the mix and letting everyone know that he is on Team Pedophile. Quote, Speaker Mike Johnson urged Republicans not to support Massie's discharge petition during a closed conference meeting Wednesday morning, according to multiple sources, unquote. Please hear the wise words of Georgia Democratic Senator Jon Ossoff.
It's been extraordinary to see the Speaker of the House reduced to lying in order to cover up sex crimes.
From The Guardian, Democrats seek immediate answers after reported arrests of firefighters by U.S. border agents. Senator Patty Murray calls Trump's immigration policy fundamentally sick. After incident in Washington state, Patty Murray, the Washington senator, has called for the Trump administration to provide immediate answers about reports that border agents detained 2 firefighters as they were responding to a wildfire in their state. Federal immigration authorities on Wednesday staged an operation on the scene of the Bear Gulch fire, a nearly 9,000-acre blaze in the Olympic National Forest, where they arrested 2 people they arrested firefighters.
Mm-hmm. Fighting a fire, actively fighting a fire.
Who were part of a contract firefighting crew. The Seattle Times first reported. The fire is the largest currently burning in Washington state. Authorities made the firefighters line up to show ID, the Seattle Times reported. One firefighter told the newspaper that they were not permitted to say goodbye to their detained colleagues. Mm-hmm. Unquote. Pieces of shit.
There's no bottom to it. There's no bottom. And there's I'll bring this up on Tuesday. I'll get the exact quote, but there's some gentleman out there named Frank, I think. A friend of mine, Brad, passed it along, which is, if they're arresting people in court, this isn't about them breaking the law. It's them, because they're trying to uphold the law. If they're sifting tax records, it's not because they don't pay taxes. If they're going after them at workplaces, it's not because they're unemployed and soaking up welfare benefits
and not working. Yeah.
And if they're picking them up at fires and in schools, it's because they came to this country to help us fight a fire, and they're trying to become Americans. They're trying to learn English and become good citizens just like the rest of us. So it isn't about any of that shit. It is pure fascist, racist bullshit.
From open border babies, from people who came here before we decided we could kick people out. And their people would have been fucking kicked out for being white trash. Excuse my language.
Well, people who couldn't come within 1,000,000 miles of being in any administration ever.
Yeah.
Worked for Donald Trump being elected by the worst people in this country twice, and being given a mandate by the worst people in this country twice to go ahead and just let it all burn it all down.
I never have a problem finding an image to go with the story on immigration at Crooks and Liars.
No.
Because the third night of the Republican National Convention in 2024 was mass deportation now signs.
Yeah. It was clear.
And I've had multiple people say, why did you Photoshop that? That's so unfair to Republicans. Mm-hmm. It's not a Photoshop.
No.
They had those signs printed up and waved them all over.
And it's what you voted for. This is
what they voted for. It's what they cheered at their convention, and it's what they wanted because they're fucking racist.
Yeah. Continuing, here's kind of a pleasant story. This is from the AP.
I want to just apologize again for my language. I know white trash is a bad thing to say.
Let's just say a more diplomatic way of putting it: the inbred denizens of sisterfuck Arkansas. Okay, let's just leave it at that.
Toilet people.
Yeah, toilet piranhas. Yes, leave that. Interpret that any way you like. A slightly happier story from the AP. A judge reverses Trump administration's cuts of billions of dollars to Harvard University. A federal judge in Boston on Wednesday ordered the Trump administration to reverse its cuts of more than $2.6 billion in research funding for Harvard University, delivering a significant victory to the Ivy League school in its battle with the White House. U.S. District Judge Allison Burroughs ruled the cuts amounted to illegal retaliation for Harvard's rejection of the Trump administration's demand for changes to Harvard's governance and policies, unquote.
From the New York fucking Times, quote, Trump orders have stripped nearly 500,000 federal workers of union rights. The president, who has targeted collective bargaining contracts for nearly 1 million government employees, has said their functions touch on national security. More than 445,000 federal employees saw their union protections disappear in August as agencies moved to comply with an executive order President Trump signed earlier this year that called for ignoring collective bargaining contracts with nearly 1 million workers. The termination of protections followed an August 1st appeals court ruling on the legal challenges to Mr. Trump's directive. The order, signed in late March, directed 22 agencies to ignore contracts for employees in specific unions. Last Thursday, Mr. Trump signed a second executive order stripping union rights from thousands of other employees at 6 additional agencies. Unquote. For the record, this constitutes the largest union-busting action in modern American history.
Yeah. Yep. If you're a working person in this country and you voted for Trump, congratulations. Way to go. So much winning. And in the ongoing story of how bad Janine Piro is at her job, this update from the Associated Press quotes, federal grand jurors in the nation's capital have refused to indict 2 people who were charged separately with threatening to kill President Donald Trump, more evidence of a growing backlash against Trump's law enforcement intervention in Washington, D.C. It is extraordinarily rare for a grand jury to balk at returning an indictment, but it has happened at least 7 times in 5 cases since Trump last month ordered a surge in patrols by federal agents and troops in the District of Columbia. One of the instances involved the case against a man charged with hurling a sandwich at a federal agent. By the way, that man is my spirit animal. The latest example occurred Tuesday when Justice Department prosecutors told a magistrate judge that a grand jury declined to indict Edward Alexander Dana. He is accused of making a death threat against Trump while in police custody on August 17th, unquote. So wait for the punchline. Quote, Dana also told police that he was intoxicated at the time, unquote. No word as to whether the cops asked what level of drunk he was. Was it jocose, verbose, morose, bellicose, lachrymose, comatose, or Janine Piro?
That's Janine Piro level's pretty dangerous, though.
It's very dangerous. The AP article continues, quote, grand jurors also refused to hand up an indictment against Nathalie Rose Jones, who was arrested August 16th in Washington on charges that she made death threats against Trump on social media and during an interview with Secret Service agents. I'm guessing she said, bring your mother around. I'll make it in front of her. Fuck that guy. So again, a spirit animal for all of us. Jones' attorney disclosed the decision in a court filing on Monday. Dana's lawyer, Elizabeth Mullen, said she has never seen anything like this in over 20 years as a public defender in Washington. She said prosecutors are responding to Trump's surge by bringing weak cases that don't belong in federal court. And the grand juries are seeing through it, Mullen said. It is a huge waste of resources. U.S. Attorney Janine Piro, whom Trump appointed to be the top federal prosecutor in Washington, said a grand jury's refusal to indict someone for threatening to kill the president is, quote, the essence of a politicized jury. No, it's a jury of your peers. The system here is broken on many levels, Piro said in a statement. Instead of the outrage that should be engendered by a specific threat to kill the president, the grand jury in D.C. refuses to even let the judicial process begin. Justice should not depend on politics, unquote. May I remind you, this is being said by a woman who is U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C., solely because her last job was a slavish, pro-Trump Fox News TV talking head who was regularly mocked on SNL for being a sloppy drunk. Justice does depend on politics when you're a Republican. that a monster like this, a half-wit like this, an incompetent wretch like this could be appointed to that job is solely about politics. End of my diatribe.
Yeah, I went and looked up what exactly she said on social media that brought this grand jury to the table.
Uh-huh.
She said on Facebook, and she said it. She told the Secret Service she wanted to avenge all the lives lost during the COVID-19 pandemic because of that terrorist Nazi Donald Trump, and wrote on Facebook, quote, "I am willing to sacrificially kill this POTUS by disemboweling him and cutting out his trachea with Liz Cheney and all the affirmation present."
Cool.
Unquote.
Yeah.
And the grand jury went, yeah, that's not a real serious sentence.
No. That's up there with shooting him into the sun. That isn't the thing that works. That's a person venting quite understandably.
And I got this from justice.gov. This is Janine Piro's website.
Yeah.
Saying this. So.
Yeah. Well, she's just doing such a great job there. I mean, indictment, dismissal, 2 indictments, 2 dismissals, just bang up job. Donald Trump must be so pleased with her at this point.
Proud of her for continually being thrown out of court.
Well, she keeps making headlines, and he loves headlines.
And headlines, we love headlines. Hmm? She doesn't, I really think your description of the tribe that rubs shit in its hair, she thinks her shit smells like rose petals because she's been on Fox for 20 years.
Yeah. Yep.
And everybody gives her attaboys for saying stupid, drunk nonsense, as long as it supports Trump. Hey guys, each week we post to our Patreon page and website an Internet Kitty sent in by you, the listeners. And this week, point of privilege, our Internet Kitty is once again Bosco, our own kitty Bosco, because the vet emailed us this week and told us that this week was Bosco's birthday, which is nonsense.
No.
We got him as a rescue from the Illinois Animal Protective League in Springfield,
where he was a 2-time loser.
He had been brought back to them.
Mm-hmm.
He'd been adopted and brought back. And so no one has any idea when this cat was born. But our adult kids, insist that we let everyone know that officially this week is Bosco's birthday and honor Bosco with yet another turn as Internet Kitty of the Week. Besides, he's got that fake crypto, which is cooler than Trump's crypto by a mile.
And holds its value much better, much
better.
Yeah.
Now, of course, Bosco eats freshly poured cat treats, another of our fake sponsors in the family of products from Freshly Poured. Whether you serve Pet Store Perfection or Dollar Store Dreck, your cat will follow you to the kitchen every single time you go there and demand freshly poured treats. He's a Turkish Von, and he's very talkative, and if he's not in the kitchen getting treats, demanding treats verbally.
Yeah. Verbally.
He's following me into the bathroom and demanding that I turn on the shower so that he can get in the shower and drink shower water.
He will get up on his hind legs and look at you like, why do you starve me? Why must you hurt me like this? Why must
Don't
you hurt
you know I've got diabetes?
Yeah, come on. Come on.
My blood sugar is dropping as we speak.
He gets meds in the morning and meds in the evening and food in between, and he's a very well taken care of cat. But by God, he is a tyrant.
He is a tyrant, and he talks all the time. He's a tyrant.
Yes, he is. And we love him dearly.
We do.
Bosco's the coin that's shining bright. Jump on in and see the light. Safe and sound, it's here to stay. Bosco's the future, come today. Bosco, it's the name to know. Crypto power with a jazzy glow. Stack it up, watch your fortune grow. Join the Bosco ride. Let's go.
You can visit Bosco at our Patreon page, patreon.com/proleftpod, or our website, proleftpod.com. And you can send your internet kitty, dog, or other pet to us at our email address, proleftpodcast@gmail.com. Subject line, internet kitty, KITTY. And you can also write to both of us at proleftpodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to write us. We do love hearing from you. Be aware that if you write to us at any of our addresses, we reserve the right to read your email or U.S. Postal Service Go Postal Unions letter on the air, unless you say otherwise.
And here's a friendly reminder that Bosco's owners like treats of their own. We will sit on this podcast and go, ourselves. Because that's our gourmet coffee guideline. If you're able to treat yourself to an espresso-based beverage, we ask that you consider treating us to one as well. This is not charity. This is how we support the work we do, the work you're listening to right now. If you can spare $5 a month, we'd be very grateful for your support at patreon.com/proleftpod. Another thing you can do for Bosco and, by extension us, I suppose, is help us continue to grow by sharing this show on social media. Let people hear the Bosco song and they will never, ever leave you. And if you love this podcast, introduce it to a friend, and thank you so much for helping us keep it going.
Hey, Driftglass, how are the internet kitties doing this week?
Well, all the other internet kitties do believe Bosco has a birthday, but they're waiting to see the long-form birth certificate.
Let's think about living. Think about living. Just think about loving. Think about loving. Just think about the hooping and the hopping and the popping and the lovey-dovey. Let's forget about the wine and the crying, the shooting and the dying, and the fellow with the switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life.
The Professional Left podcast is recorded under a Creative Commons license. Copyright 2024-25, GGBG Productions.